All right. Now, I don't want them to gain another yard. You blitz all night! And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm gonna take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Hello folks, welcome to Jeremy Hadler's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jeremy Hadler, and today I'll be doing my NFC 2025-2026 NFC predictions. My next video will be the AFC version, but I'll be doing the NFC side. So I've done this in years past where I've gone through the AFC East, the South, the North, the West, done through all of them. So I'll be going through the divisions, how I'm doing it there, and I'll be giving their record, their schedule we'll be looking at, their progress, what we've seen from this past offseason. Do they get better, get worse? And my expectations of that team, how I see them doing. So that will be how I'll be doing this video here today. But once again, make sure to leave a like on this video. Would appreciate it. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want more content and you want to stay tuned. Would appreciate it also, folks. Thank you. NFC East. Always a fun division because we never know who the division winner is going to be every year. It's never the same team 2 years in a row, which is remarkable how that's gone on for the last 20 years. Remarkable. Coming in fourth place, I got is the New York Giants, finishing at 6-11. I think this is no shocker here. Give you what they did this offseason. They now have 4 quarterbacks. You got Russell Wilson. You got Jameis Winston. You got Tommy DeVito and the rookie Jackson Dart. 4 guys. Who will win the contest? And they still have no offensive line. They invested in the running back. They did get drafted a running back in this past draft. And they do have Tyrone Tracy. They also have him there. Other things that are on the offensive side that is the only great spot for them is Malik Neighbors. That is the only bright side that I have on them. Now, they did address defense, and it's definitely one of the worst. In the secondary, they got Holland and Debo, which I think was pretty nice. Then they did draft Abdul Carr. I'm looking at defensive line. That's one of the best defensive lines in the league. When you have Thibs, Cars, I just mentioned before, Burns, Dexter Lawrence, that is going to be insane. So that's the only bright side that I see the Giants on the defensive side. You still have Brian Dable. You got rid of Daniel Jones. I definitely think that this might be Brian Dable's last season with the Giants. I definitely could see that, and the GM as well, because his kid, he had a better answer of drafting, of who to draft a couple years ago if you watched that famous Hard Knocks clip. So, got the Giants here, 4th place. Deal with it, Giants fans. Deal with it. 3rd place. This team goes by the most popular team, and they claim they're the best team, and they're the NFL team of all time. That is the Dallas Cowboys. America's team, as they like to say. I got them finishing at 7-10 here. I don't think they're going to have the strong, successful season that they've had the past couple seasons, and last year was not great for them. They got a new head coach now, so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Dak Prescott's coming off an injury, plus he's the highest-paid quarterback. Things they did this offseason. They traded for George Pickens. They lost their Hall of Fame Zach Martin offensive line, which they addressed the right guard in that draft. The big thing that concerns me on the offensive side is the running back. You got Javonte Williams in free agency, but that is not the right answer. You had the opportunity to keep Tony Pollard 2 years ago and re-sign him. Jerry said no. And Jerry, he has his own way. They are not Super Bowl contenders until Jerry puts aside his ego and actually does it for the team. That is how the Cowboys will have a shot at the Super Bowl. That is how. But what I did like was they re-signed their defensive tackle, Osa, to a 4-year contract extension. That was pretty great. And the Cowboys, they had one of the worst run defenses last year. Was not great. They did sign Dante Fowler, but again, what concerns me about this Dallas Cowboys team is the defense. Because the past couple years, they've lost their best players. And pass rush needs to get improved. I get you have Micah Parsons, but you need another guy out there. Their secondary, I like that. That's the only thing I like about the defense. I think the Cowboys defense needs to be improved on a lot more. Main issue I have, again, is the running back position. Running back, I mean, you got Javonte Williams, not great. You also have Miles Sanders, but you got to run the ball. And that is what's happening in the NFL today, is run the ball. So the Cowboys got to heavily emphasize the run game. You got to get better. And my only issue on the offensive line is the interior side, which they did address, but I just don't see the Cowboys being very competitive this year. I just don't see it for them. Now, usually they have high expectations. This might be the one year where no one has high expectations and they outperform that. Maybe that's the case for the Cowboys. Maybe that is. But I just don't see it with first year head coach. I see some regression and progress in second place. Usually, whoever wins it the year prior usually loses the next season somehow. I will not go with that trend. I will pick the Commanders here for second place here at 12-5. Yes, 12-5. Of course, you got Jane Daniels. You got Brian Robinson Jr. Terry Scary, will he get a contract extension? That, as I'm recording right now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I just don't know. So that it could definitely make it worse of how that goes of the record-wise, definitely by 5 to like 6, 7 losses very easily. But what I saw from this offseason, they addressed offensive line heavily. They got Josh Connerly from Oregon. You trade for Tunsil, paid a big money for him. Trade for also Deebo Samuel for a wide receiver. Just signed Von Miller, so that was pretty good. And things that I don't like about the Commanders is the defense. I think the defense is a little overlooked. They're not really looking into the defense because that was a huge weak spot for me. And the D-line and the secondary are very concerned to me, especially after coming off that NFC Championship loss to Philly. Now, it did show very well against the Lions in that playoff game the first time, which I'm very happy about. But when you're playing against Philly exposed them. They exposed that defense heavily and blew them out of the water. Blew them out of the water and sent them back to DC. So that is concerning me, especially when Dan Quinn's your head coach and had that defensive mind. So that's the concern to me is I got to see the defense more improved upon. I got to see that for myself to put the Commanders a little bit higher. I think they're going to still finish off strong. And looking at the Commanders' schedule, the tough opponents I see off the bat, you got to play Philly twice. You got to play Green Bay, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, Denver. Those are all potential losses right there. I do think they could beat some of them, and they're going to lose some. But I think the Commanders are going to finish very strong. Also, it's going to depend on how Jane Daniels is in year 2. Will he have a CJ Stroud year? Will he regress a lot? That is going to be the question. That is going to be the question out there. So my big issues I have with the Commanders right now is the defense, especially in that defensive line and the secondary a bit. And if Jane Daniels can progress once again, and will Scary Terry have his contract? But Jane Daniels, if he does what he did last year in one of like a great rookie season he had, this Commanders team could be pretty good. And to take first place in the NFC East to finally break the streak is the Philadelphia Eagles, finishing with a 12-5 record I got. 12-5. They're the reigning Super Bowl champs, so congrats to them once again. They had a big offseason. They lost 7 stars on the defense. That is a pretty huge issue to me. They lost their one offensive line, Mekhi Becton. So right guard's a little bit of an issue. That's the only issue I have. Plus, you have the new offensive coordinator, so hopefully he knows what he's doing. And this is Jalen Hurts' like 5th guy for offensive coordinator, which is insane to me. So I think the offense will still be good. Defensively, they lost some key guys from the Super Bowl. Now, you're not going to have a veteran defense. You're now going to have a very young defense, and they're going to make some mistakes. But we didn't see too many mistakes from Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, which is pretty stoked to see. Now, I did like that they got Olargy and they drafted Campbell. The big issue I have in the defense is the pass rush. If they can fix the pass rush, that is a big thing for me. If you can fix that, plus the linebacker is another issue to me because Zach Bond, fantastic guy. Nakobe Dean, can he stay healthy? You did lose Oren Burks. That's why you drafted Jahad Campbell. So if you can fix that and this team can still be consistent, despite losing 7 starters, that is pretty stoked for Vic Fangio and this Eagles team. That would be pretty stoked. Now, look at their schedule. I do see some tough games for them. Now, the one that easily sticks out to me is the Commanders because you got to play them twice. So I see a split right down the road from them. Other teams that I can see is Buffalo, Green Bay, the Rams, Kansas City, Denver, Tampa Bay, because the Eagles have had issues with Tampa Bay, and Detroit. Those are a couple more, but I think the Eagles could easily beat some of these opponents, including my team. I could definitely see it happening. But I think those are the key games that I'm seeing here, in my opinion. But I think they're going to be a fantastic team once again. Got to finish at 12-5, and they're going to be a great team. And now we head to the NFC South. In 4th place, I got the New Orleans Saints, finishing at 5-12. The Saints are not in a great situation. They're still trying to compete to win. they haven't started the rebuild yet, which is a huge issue to me. Ever since Drew Brees' days, the Saints have been terrible. They've made terrible trades since then. Let go of some guys that they should have brought back, and they extended guys' contract when they should not have, and their career has not been the same since. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be because Derek Carr was forced to retire this offseason. Thought he was be ready, and he was not. So that is an issue to me because we have to find out who could be the quarterback, whether it's Tyler Schaub, their new draft pick they just got, who just signed his second-round contract deal with the Saints, or you could have Spencer Rattler. And Spencer Rattler is not the guy. We saw that. Now, the offense, it's not great. It's just not great. The only thing they have on that offense, but they have Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. That's the only thing, because they had to address offensive line because their one guy retired, Ramczyk, again. We need to see improvement, hopefully, maybe with that. And you got Kellen Moore now, so maybe he could do something well because he was with the Super Bowl winning team last year with the Eagles. So maybe you see a difference there. Defensively, that is a bigger issue to me because you lost a Debo. So the CBs is a big word to me. Plus the pass rush. Cameron Jordan's not the same guy he once was, guys. And they just don't have it. If I'm the Saints, this is a tank rebuild year. This is the rebuild year to start the process here. I think that's how I go if I'm the Saints. Kamara's getting old. Olave, he's young, but don't waste his years, guys. I got him finishing here at 5-12. Hopefully, Kellen Moore does something great here. Hopefully, it does. In third place in the NFC South is the Carolina Panthers. I got finishing at 7-10. They could be a sneaky team, but there are some concerning things, mostly their defense. The one bright side that I saw from the Panthers last year was Bryce Young finished strong at the end. And that's always something you like to have with your quarterback that did not have a great season. He wasn't great, but he finished a bit stronger. They also got their number one wide receiver for him. And the issue with them is the defense. The pass rush and run defense was one of the worst. And they have to address that. And they really did not address that, in my opinion. Maybe there's hope that we can see out of this Panthers team to get better. So I think they could definitely win some games. I definitely think they can. But I think there's going to be struggles here. And the defense is going to be the cause of that. I think they're going to be held most accountable for that, for Bryce Young trying to have a successful season with the Panthers. Defense is the biggest weakness I see on there. Despite them, they do have some good players. I mean, they have J.C. Horn, who I like a lot, but I just don't see that with this defense. I just don't. So that's the big issue I have for the Panthers right now. So I'm going to put here at third place as progression. In second place of the NFC South, I have is the Atlanta Falcons finishing at 10-7. Is Penix the answer? Is he? I don't know. He might be. That was one of the most strange situations that I've seen in recent drafts where Kirk Cousins gets a huge payday with the Falcons and everyone thinks, including myself, he's going to be there for years. And then they draft Penix. That was the interesting. I didn't understand that at the time. Still don't understand. It might be the answer. They need to get the quarterback going, which hopefully Penix improves. And he's got nice, great weapons. You got Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Maybe this might be his fantasy football. Maybe, guys. Defensively was the worst part of this Falcons team. I mean, they have Jesse Bates, which I like, but they need a pass rush. And that's what I said about the prior draft. But they finally addressed pass rush deeply by getting Walker, by getting Pierce. Those were two big things for me that I need to see from this Falcons is getting pass rush. They also saw a bad defensive line, but they did address a little bit of that. And third downs, crucial was terrible for them on the defensive side. And you go back to the offensive side, I already mentioned Penix, but the big issue I have with them is the offensive line. Inconsistent with pass protection, also was very undisciplined by getting too many penalties, and they lost their best center. That is not great, especially when you have Bijan Robinson. So hopefully that offensive line is still solid because Bijan Robinson is going to have a big year, and hopefully this offensive line really helps out with Bijan Robinson to get that offense, get it going better and better. Because I think they're going to struggle up and down throughout the year, but I do think Penix comes on top. And to wrap up the NFC South, coming in first place is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got 11-6. They did have a good piece that I liked was getting Ibuka from Ohio State. So now they have a pretty good wide receiver room, especially when re-signing Chris Godwin, because now you got Mike Evans, Godwin, and Ibuka. That is a great three-receiver trio right there. The issues I have on the offensive side is the interior offensive line. That's my really issue. I think Baker's going to be solid. I think he's going to be once again. Plus, their best offensive line, Tristan Wirfs, got hurt. So we'll have to wait and see how long he's out. I don't think it's going to be very much, but he could be out a couple games in the season. So that is a concern to me. And then pass rush is another concern to me. It did sign Hassan Reddick, but is Reddick going to be the guy he was before? He didn't want to play for Philly after playing the season, got traded to the Jets, didn't play a single down for them. So now, is he even the same guy that everyone thinks he is? We don't know. So we'll have to wait and see for that. And another thing I had an issue with their defense was the third downs. They kept giving up so much on third down. So that has to get improved drastically if you really want to consider yourself as the NFC Super Bowl contenders. I think that has to play a factor. Even though you have had Philly's number, you don't have Commanders' number, as we just saw there from this past postseason. I think that's going to be the issue to me. Plus, we have to see how Chris Godwin is after coming up a career season-ending injury. We have to see how he is after that. But to look at their schedule here, you got Houston, Philly, San Francisco, Detroit, Buffalo, the Rams. Arizona may sneak in there to be an upset, but again, those are tough opponents I see there for Tampa Bay. I think they're going to be pretty good. So I got them finishing at 11-6, taking the crown in the NFC South.
Hello, Jeremy Hadler viewers. My name is Zach, owner, founder, all the above of BSC Cards. You can find us at BSC Cards on Instagram. What we're all about is a sports card hobby page showing off my personal collection of Cleveland Browns and other favorite players like GOAT Series legend Ray Guy. And on top of that, do some story sales pretty often to help get other collectors out there rare, unique pieces for their own enjoyment. I really have been in this hobby almost a decade now, put in that extra time to help find cool, rare pieces for all 32 NFL team fans to be able to enjoy. You can also follow us to get updated on when we'll be at a show or an event in the Eastern Pennsylvania or New Jersey area, and hope to see y'all there, and peace.
We're going to the NFC West before we get to the NFC North, just to save it for the fun. The NFC West in fourth place I have is the Arizona Cardinals, finishing at 8-9. I think this team's going to struggle and go very up and down throughout the season, and they did address defensive line, which I liked, and I think that was a big priority for this Cardinals team with getting Sweat from the Eagles and drafting Nolan. They do have weapons. You have Marvin Harrison, you got James Conner, and you still have Kyle Murray. Are we going to see, like we saw many years ago, when his team was undefeated in the regular season, even though they lost in the first round that season, but pretty good? Can we get the offense rolling here? Because Harrison did not do anything. He really did not do anything with Murray, despite getting hurt a little, but they had to rely on James Conner a lot. They really did. So you really got to address that offense. It's got to be a lot better, in my opinion. And the big thing, though, on that offense is the offensive line, because Murray is running around like he always is to try and stay alive and throw the ball downfield and just to get the first down or touchdown. He's trying to make the plays. Give him time, guys. You got to give him more time, and you have to. That was another thing they had to address was the offensive line. They addressed it a little, but that's a big concern to me. Plus, where's the pass rush on this team? I mean, again, you did address it with getting Sweat, which I like, but that has to show up. That has to show up immediately, especially with Jonathan Gannon's defense. You got to see that. You have to have that. So those are the concerns I have with Cardinals. And to come in third place of this division here, I got is the Seattle Seahawks finishing at 10-7. They had a pretty big offseason. Traded their quarterback, traded their wide receiver away, so you don't have Geno Smith anymore. You don't have DK Metcalf anymore. That whole ride's gone. You got Sam Darnold coming in. You have Jackson Pacheco still. You addressed interior offensive line, which was pretty good because that's always inconsistent. You added more receivers to the room. Cooper Kupp, which he's not the same guy he once was, guys. And you brought in Lawrence from the Cowboys to that defense. How about the pass rush, which is another concern to me a little bit, but it's usually pretty good. And the secondary is the big concern I have on that defense. That's my big concern with them. It was not consistent. You do have great CBs and you have a couple good safeties, but it just wasn't consistent. I need to see that out of them. But the biggest issue, again, was the interior offensive line. The offensive line, because Walker, great running back you guys have, but the offensive line needs to be addressed, and it's been such an issue. It was such an issue ever since you traded Max Unger for Jimmy Graham to the Saints. That has been such an issue. Now, Jimmy Graham was a great player for you guys, but such an issue. It's been forever. But again, I think the Seahawks are going to be a little sneaky team out there. I think they're going to have a solid season. So I think they're going to go 10-7, especially in this division here, which is always the toughest division I always see here since I've been a kid watching the NFL. Always one of the toughest divisions to see. So got the Seahawks finishing at 10-7. Second place in this division I got is the San Francisco 49ers finishing at 11-6. The defense got weaker. You still have some core pieces like Boza, Warren, Lenore. You did just get Michael Williams to add to that pass rush. And you also got to bring back your old DC coordinator, Robert Saleh. The story for the 49ers last year. Too many injuries I kept seeing on both sides of the ball. So now you got Brandon Ayuk coming off a pretty scary injury. Jawan Jennings wants a new contract. Trade Deebo Samuel away. You still have George Kittle. And you paid Brock Purdy a hefty contract. So we have to see how that offense does and the defense. If you can put the core pieces and you get it all together to figure it all out, this could be pretty good. But they're definitely regressing. All their good players are pretty much gone, which is not great if you're a 49ers fan. But I still think they're going to have a pretty good record with 11-6 because their schedule is one of the easiest schedules. Cleveland, Carolina, Arizona, New York, Giants, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Saints, Bears, Colts, Titans. Easy schedule for the 49ers. So I think they're going to have easy schedule, and they're going to be lucky with that because had they had a tougher schedule, I think they're going to definitely be down a bit more. So I think we'll have to wait and see how they're as a team, despite playing against like easier opponents. We'll have to see if they're a true contender or not. We'll have to wait and see for that. But got the 49ers here, finishing here in second place here. And to get the division crown here, I got for the NFC West is the Los Angeles Rams here, finishing at 12-5. You lost your longtime receiver, Cooper Kupp, who has been there since the very early days in the past 10 years, one of the main core pieces when he was with Jared Goff and Aaron Donald back then. And they did lose their offensive lineman, Jackson. He's gone as well. But you did make some pretty good moves. You brought in Devontae Adams. You got Curl. You got Ford. You got a tight end in the second round to help out this offense and defense. You did lose to Philly divisional round. I think the Rams, they're going to be pretty good. I think it'll be solid, but Father Time is getting to Matthew Stafford, so will we see regression with that? So what I'm seeing here on this Rams schedule here, which I think is pretty easy because you got to face the AFC South and NFC South. Pretty easy. You got to face Philly, Baltimore, Detroit, because you won the division. So that is the tough opponents I really see there. Plus Tampa Bay, as I mentioned, NFC South, and Houston. So those are the tough points I'm really seeing. I'm telling you guys, this team is going to be pretty good this year. So I think they're going to be true Super Bowl contenders and a threat to the Eagles here to take them off the throne here in the NFC. Let's get to the last division here in this NFC is the NFC North. My favorite division. Number 4 is the Chicago Bears. 6-11. You heard me. I think it's going to be up and down year again. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be flashy. I don't think I'm seeing it out of it. Plus, I think it's going to be progress to see how Ben Johnson does with Caleb Williams. Now, he did well with Jared Goff, so maybe that's a different story. You did address your offensive line, which was the worst offensive line I have seen. Now, that wasn't all Caleb Williams' fault, but there was a little of Caleb Williams' fault in that. But you did address the offensive line, so maybe you have an all right offense. Maybe, because your defense is known for that. But again, the moves the Bears make in the offseason always are the offseason winners. Always are. But it doesn't translate into the regular season. It hasn't. So, the issues I have with the Bears is Williams needs to develop a bit more, which, again, it was rookie season, so we're definitely going to see that with Ben Johnson. The defense is still good. Got to finish here at 4th place. In 3rd place of the NFC North, I got is the Minnesota Vikings finish at 8-9. Now, the big story that came out of the Vikings this offseason was they let Sam Darnold walk to go to Seattle. They let J.J. McCarthy, who they drafted, to be the quarterback. Now, he did not play last year because he had torn ACL, and Kevin O'Connell is pretty good with quarterback. Plus, you do have Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison, we'll wait to hear about the suspension, how many games he's suspended, probably a couple games. But what I did like about this Vikings offseason was they re-signed a couple guys that were necessary. They let guys walk that were not really helpful, so they kind of cleaned the locker room a little bit. You brought back one of your best CBs. You brought him back, so that was pretty good. And you did sign Fries and Kelly from the Colts for the offensive line. That's pretty good, so you address the offensive line, and that's especially need for your potential franchise quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. What concerns me of this Vikings team is the quarterback, because we don't know how J.J. McCarthy is going to be, especially as a rookie quarterback coming off a torn ACL and having stays in Michigan. We have to see how that pans out. And I do think it's be up and down year. I mean, the defense, fantastic. Offensively, if JJ can be what Sam Darnold is, what he did last year, I don't think it's going to happen. But let's say hypothetically, the Vikings are going to be pretty good. Despite losing to the Rams, losing the playoffs last year, despite all that. I think JJ, we have to see. We have to see how he does. Plus, another concern I have on this offense is Aaron Jones. Now, Aaron Jones was pretty good, but the health was an issue. He couldn't stay healthy and kept getting banged up. But that is a concerned thing, is like Father Time is definitely catching up to Aaron Jones. So I think it's going to be up and down year, especially with JJ McCarthy. And take second place here in the NFC North. I got my team, the Green Bay Packers, finishing at 11-6. I think it's a fair assessment given our divisional rivals that we lost all of them to the Vikings, split with the Bears, and lost to the Lions twice in a row. Same thing with the Vikings. Plus, you got to face the AFC North and the NFC East. That is definitely going to be a factor of why I think 11-6 is the reason here for them. But what they did this offseason, despite losing to Philly, they did pretty good. I like some of the moves that they made. Matthew Golden was probably my favorite because of what Mark Murphy said in the podium. Because he's retiring, he's no longer the president. We have now a new president and policy coming in. So thank you, Mark Murphy, for your time for the Packers. We appreciate it. But what I liked about this Packers team of going through this offseason was you went after offense and defense a bit. But defense, you signed Nate Hobbs, who's basically a replacement for Eric Stokes. Is he a replacement for Jair Alexander? Because we let him go. That was one issue I had with this draft and this offseason was we really didn't address CB a whole ton because now you have Hobbs, you got Carrington Valentine, and you got Keyshawn Nixon. Not the best, not the worst. It's meh. I don't think that's the biggest concern for this team. I think pass rush is the big concern, even though you did address it with the draft a little bit in later rounds. Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary, I got to see a big step up from them. I have to see a big step up from them. Now, defense was pretty good last year. Thank you, Jeff Hadler, for giving us a good defense. The run defense was finally good. And we got Aaron Banks from the 49ers, which the 49ers have had pretty good offensive line throughout the years. And Aaron Banks, I really like him. Now, it might seem a little overpay, but if he gets the job done, I don't care. So I think that's pretty good. And again, the biggest concern I have on the offensive side of the ball, because I just mentioned the defense, is the receivers. Can they finally catch the ball? That was the most annoying thing I kept seeing out there. And we have Josh Jacobs. Good spots there. Now, Jordan Love. Let's talk about him for a little bit. He dealt with an injury. He was not the same. He was struggling a bit. You could definitely tell if the injury was not the same player. And he was having the same mistakes. The interceptions was definitely a key issue. But finish off, though, with the same interceptions had he had the prior year as well. So he had a solid season, but it's not what we wanted to see out of him. I think Jordan's going to have a pretty good season. So, again, I think of the Packers, the big issues I really have with them is just like the pass rush and seeing the receiver game, how that goes. But you definitely got to take care of business against your division rivals and the NFC. That's what I have for the Packers. I got them finishing at second place. I think they're in a pretty good season. 11-6, I think is a fair assessment for I'm giving with the Packers here. 11-6. And then to wrap up this video here, coming in first place is the Detroit Lions. Yes, but I'm going to say here 11-6. I think they're going to get a tiebreaker over this Packers because I think they too will have a tough schedule here because I just mentioned with all the rest of the NFC North teams, you got to play the NFC North, of course. You got to play AFC North. You got to play the NFC East. Tough opponents you got to face. Plus, they have to face the Rams because they won the division last year. The big story that came out from this Lions this offseason was they lost both coordinators. Both went to be head coaches. Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator. Now the Bears head coach. Aaron Glenn, their defense coordinator. Now for the New York Jets. Maybe they just get the playoffs from that. Maybe. But that's the big story that happened out there. Plus your center just retired. That's a little bit of an issue. The offensive line, you lost Ragno, Zeitler. So the offensive line went down a little bit. That's a big issue to me. Plus, the defensive side, I mean, you had so many injuries. That was on both sides. That was also the big story for them last year, was so many injuries. Now, they replaced some guys that I liked, was replacing Carlton Davis with DJ Reed. I think that's a pretty good move for them. But the big thing I will say about this defense that concerns me a little bit is the pass rush. Now, Hutchinson, fantastic player. I'm not going to nag on him anything. You need to have another guy out there. You need to have a partner out there for Hutchinson because he has Darius Smith, and he's a free agent. He did not contribute the amount that the Lion fans hoped for. And Hutchinson is coming off a season-ending injury. He should be back by week 1, is what the reports are telling me. But he might take a couple games to get in. I think he'll be fine, just like give him a game or two to fully get in the game here. So that is concerning me I have on the defense side. But really, it's just the offensive line is the big concern I have with this offense for the Lions. But the bigger story, once again, is the coordinators. How will the new coordinators get in here? The bigger story, once again, for this Lions is the coordinators. How will they adjust from these coordinators is to give me a big thing. from losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. That's going to be the big thing, because now we're really going to see how Dan Campbell will do, and he's still going to go for the 4th downs. He's still going to, but I got the Lions here, taking the crown in the NFC North, 11-6. That'll do here, folks. I appreciate it. Playoff teams, I'm going to say here real quick, I got the division winners, the Bucs, Lions, Eagles, and the Rams. Playoff teams that I see happening, Packers, of course, for my team, Commanders, and the 49ers. I think those are 3 teams that are going to come out of there. Now, there's definitely a couple other teams I can sneak in, which is the Falcons, the Vikings, Cardinals, Seahawks, maybe Panthers. Not really, but I'll throw it out there for you Panther fans. Throw it out there. But let me know what you think in the chat, guys. Who do you got for your records? Who do you think is going to go finish higher? Who do you think is going to do very well this season? Who do you think is going to do very bad? Let me know in the chat. Would appreciate it. And make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you've already not done so. Would appreciate it, guys. And as always, go Pack Go. That's a wrap for this video. We'll see you next time.